want to talk to you about a particular stain on the boxing world, which is the doping stuff. And I wanted you to have a listen to a discussion I had with Adam Booth on my Upfront podcast a while ago and see what he says. Spencer Oliver talks about 60% of fighters. This guy, Malik, was talking about 50, 60% of fighters doping.
At the highest level you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your view on that?
I've lost faith in the sport in that sense. I agree with them. I think it's rife. There are so many ways that now they can avoid detection. You've only got to mention a half credible possible reason why you failed a dope test, along with some well-funded lawyers, and you're probably going to get away with it.
Picking up from Adam's points, I mean, what's your thoughts on the landscape in terms of how prevalent it is, to Spencer's point, and Adam's reaction to it, and people like Derek Chisora that talk about the consequences of doping being a lifetime ban? What's your thought process on it all?
Sorry, what was the Derek Chisora bit there, sorry?
Lifetime ban. Anyone, no 3 strikes, no pissing about. You fail a PED, you're gone.
Yeah, I agree with that. I totally agree with that. The only issue is that somebody, when there is a silly, innocent mistake, which might happen, but if that is what solves it, that's what it needs to be, lifetime ban. I totally agree. I think the problem is that there isn't insurances, people, like Adam mentioned there, legal team, people being able to sue. If there's the slightest of grey areas, it is an issue. That is a major issue. In terms of how many fighters are doping, I don't know. That is the reality of it. I don't know. But we certainly need to be stricter on it, 100%. And there needs to be a better protocol in place to ensure the safety of the fighters, because that is paramount. Nothing else happens without that.
Well, eventually it's going to happen, isn't it?
Yeah.
Someone is going to fail a drugs test and someone's going to get really badly hurt.
But it shouldn't take that. That is the issue. It should not take that to happen. That is the issue.
The reality is, because we've seen in recent times, people failing tests, getting off tests, etc., etc. The reality is that is going to happen. And it is going to take that, which is a shame for the sport, because it puts a dark stain on the sport of boxing. I think that...
Will that even solve it, though? Will it?
No.
How do they solve it?
Well, can I ask you a wider...
Lifetime bans.
Well, yeah.
Does that solve it?
Lifetime bans take away what people have earned, because ultimately the incentive is that people get paid so much money and they're prepared to roll the dice and take the risk, to use an expression. But let me ask a more pointed question. Do you believe it's... if a fighter is doping, that everybody will know? Because I think Adam Booth is of the mindset that it is not just related to the fighter. The people around him will be aware. Do you believe that?
I think sometimes. I think it'd be hard for fighters to go and source these things and have the information to do these things, especially if they're under drug testing by themselves.
But as a trainer, you'd notice the marked improvement, wouldn't you, as well, wouldn't you?
Not always, no.
I just think the fighter and the trainer are sort of like, they are that close, and I just think that there will be... I don't care. When a fighter's done for doping and everything else, there can't be no one in that team that doesn't know about that.
So you think the same? So then it should actually be a catch-all, shouldn't it? Anybody, if the fighter chooses to dope and the camp decides to allow that to go on, then everybody
the camp allowing it to go on. This is what I mean. Nowadays you have nutritionists, strength and conditioners that are outside of all this. They might know. They might see it more. Our job is the skill set. The actual skill set of boxing. I'm not watching them lift their weights and that. I'm not doing that. That might be more prevalent to the improvements in terms of stats, numbers, all these things are shooting up. I'm not blaming strength and conditioners here, by the way.
Yeah. No, but I understand you were saying the complications are, it used to be when I was boxing, it was just your boxing trainer, you trained on everything.
Running.
Nutritionists, strength and conditioners.
Now it's multi-skill and delegated.
There's so many people within a team, when I'm looking at their skill set, they might be punching a little bit harder, might be a little bit fitter.
But that could be for a variety of reasons.
If I'm focused on their skill set, that's not something that I'm keeping track of and looking at the numbers to see whatever the percentage is of improvement. But something certainly needs to be done, and I don't know what that something is, because what you mentioned there is...
serious consequences. Speed it up.
Taking money away from fighters that you mentioned there. All of a sudden, like Adam mentioned there, is correct. Good legal team, can you do that? Have you got proof that I was on it there? All of a sudden...
More transparency there, more visibility, quicker turnaround times. I think are all part and parcel of it. But listen, it's one of those squares that hopefully, or one of those circles that will hopefully be squared at some point. What do you make? You've obviously got this super fight coming up in September, which is Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford. I have mixed emotions about this fight. I have mixed emotions about people jumping up 2 or 3 weight classes. And I'm not sure. I mean, I'm leaning towards Terence Crawford as my pick, but notwithstanding that, I get it wrong most of the time, so that's probably worth ignoring. What do you think of this as a super fight?
At first, I thought, like, in what area does Terence Crawford beat Canelo Alvarez? And then I saw Canelo Alvarez against William Skull. Bearing in mind, you can't win a fight the way William Skull boxed. You know, you can't win boxing like that, and Crawford will know that. But I thought, well, he didn't look great there, and I thought he looked old, being honest, and I'm one of Canelo's biggest fans. However, then I watch Crawford against Madrimov, and I think you will not hold off Canelo Alvarez. You know,
Madrimov had a higher work output, though.
Look at that, yeah, but Madrimov worked harder, but I think Canelo will be able to make him work harder. Better at cutting off the ring, better at...
So, I mean, what's the size difference then? On that argument, and I'm going to throw myself in the way of being observed and say that I'm a Burke, but Bivol doesn't have huge power, does he?
No.
And Bivol didn't use his power to keep Alvarez off. I know they were fighting at light heavyweight, and I know I'm comparing apples with oranges, but is the only argument to suggest that the reasons why people are light upon Canelo is because of the power that he brings, that Terence won't be able to keep him off? Yet we've seen it slightly be replicated in the Bivol fight, where Bivol's discipline and quality was able to deal with Canelo Alvarez. Or am I pissing in the wind?
No, there's elements to it. I think Canelo was poor in that fight, by the way, in terms of his own standards.
Against Bivol?
Yeah. But I think that there's more to size than just power. Being able to take a shot, he's solid, Bivol. Length. Terence Crawford's very long, by the way. Just talking out in general in terms of sight, people boxing at weight classes above. Being seasoned at that weight, strength, you know, physical. Terence Crawford is long, he's strong, you know, an ex-wrestler. He's got those things to it, but Canelo is to make that jump up in weight against Canelo is a really tough ask, really tough ask. However, I don't think Canelo's anywhere near his peak, and it's just opened up. I wasn't open to defence at all. I was completely one side in Canelo's favour. But at this point, I'm now starting to. Well, I'm actually not as certain as I was, being honest.
I think this is the fight where we get greatness, and that is with Terence Crawford, because he goes and beats Canelo. He goes down in the history books. So I've always said Crawford would live with any welterweight, and I've took a lot of by the way as well, go in any era, and I truly believe that, because I think the kid is that good.
That's more common.
And if he is, he beats a Canelo of this sort of level. So I wanted to throw to your question about, you know, this fight being shown on Netflix. From a business point of view, do you think that's a good thing, a bad thing? I mean, the scale of the fight.
Well, I think it's a disruptive thing. I think it's basically, and I don't think I know because I've spoken to him about it. It's about changing the landscape, because most people would have expected Turkey to have put this fight on DAZN, just bunged a bunch of money into DAZN, but put it on Netflix disrupts the thinking. It's an interesting place for a fight to land. We're seeing various spectacles land there before, but they've been Jake Paul and other people of that nature, which I'd rather shoot myself in the face than watch. But this is a legitimate super fight. So I think obviously it'll get an audience, it'll get a big audience, but I think there's more Machiavellian thinking behind there. You know what these guys want to do, the Saudis, they want to own the boxing framework. They've been able to do it differently. They can't do it in football, they couldn't do it in golf. They have been able to do it in boxing because they've been able to cut through. Everyone's pronouncing them as the kings of boxing now.
So yes or no, do you think it's a good thing it goes on Netflix?
I don't think it matters as long as we can watch it. I'm a Netflix subscriber, so it don't matter to me.
And I think most boxers, most people probably are.
Absolutely. Right, that's it for episode 125 of Talk Boxing with Simon Jordan and Spencer Oliver. Ben, thanks very much for joining us.
Pleasure.
And we'll see you guys next time we're out, which will be next week.